Hi everyone, good morning. Today's Friday, April 3rd, 2020. So today, what we're going to talk about is World War One. We're going to talk very briefly over what total war is, and we're also going to talk about propaganda. Okay, propaganda posters, how it was used all over the world in terms of trying to kind of get the civilians on board with this war. At the end of this lecture, you guys are going to go back to Google Classroom and you're going to complete a propaganda analysis. I'm giving you guys some posters to look at. We're going to talk some tools on how to analyze the posters. Should be easy, very straight to the point. You'll just look at the poster, tell me what it's talking about, describe it. Okay, I love any, political cartoons, propaganda posters. So much can be said in these posters or any of these cartoons. Okay, so let's get started. Right off the bat, make sure that you guys are completing all of your assignments starting from Monday and then from Wednesday as well. So make sure you're watching the ed puzzles, make sure you're completing what is due. All assignments from this week are going to be due Monday, April 6th at 11:59. So make sure you guys are keeping track. Don't get behind. I'm giving you guys about a week to get all of these things done. It's not a lot, but I understand you have other classwork to do, other obligations, but reach out to me, guys, if you're having a hard time. Okay, so here we go. So what is total war in World War One? So essentially what total war is, it's going to require the channeling of all of a nation's resources into the war effort. Okay, governments are going to take a stronger role in the economic and cultural lives of their people. So what this means essentially is factories, for example, had to stop producing non-essential goods. Like, they're not going to be producing luxury goods, articles of clothing, furniture, all of that. Instead, they're going to start producing, tanks, machine guns, bullets, guns, anything that is needed for the war effort, medical supplies. Okay, so there's also a conscription that occurs during World War One. It's another word for the draft, for example, and this required that all young men be prepared for military service at any moment's notice. And here's the first example of a poster that was used during World War One. So you see Bob Hope, Dorothy Lamour caught in the draft. Notice how it's just portraying a happy soldier with his girlfriend or his wife, and he is happy to kind of go out and serve his country, trying to make this idea for all of the boys, that they might go into war sound appealing, seem like it's a good thing. Okay, so oops, let me move this over here. So as millions of men left to fight, women are going to work in war industries and manufactured weapons and supplies. So women also help ration or save food and served overseas as nurses in the United States, for example, and Europe as well. When the men leave, all of those factory jobs need someone to fill them, and the women are going to step up and they're going to take those roles, and the women are actually going to be really, really instrumental in the war effort. They're going to be kind of producing all of these supplies just as good as the men were. These women are also going to be very important as nurses going overseas to tend to the soldiers who are getting hurt. Okay, so we know Rosie the Riveter here. Okay, but just another example showing that, women can do the same thing that the men were doing. Okay, so here we go. Here's where we're going to get started talking propaganda. Okay, so what propaganda is, it means to censor and control public opinion, because this was an important aspect of total war. You want the civilians to support the war. Okay, you want them to support the troops. Okay, so notice here's the first example of a poster. It can happen here unless we keep them firing. So this is portraying, a suburban home. You see the car, and it's essentially telling people, hey, if we aren't supporting our soldiers, the enemy's going to come to our homes and destroy them. This is the government basically saying, this could happen to your house if we're not supporting the soldiers. Okay, so we're going to look now at some objectives of the wartime propaganda because they served specific purposes. Okay, purpose number one is going to be to recruit soldiers, either through the draft of voluntary enlistment or voluntary enlistment. Okay, so kind of showing the men, come join the war effort. It's a good thing. Be a soldier, be a hero for your country. The second objective is going to be to finance the war. Okay, the war effort. It's expensive. A war is very expensive. So the government is going to try to sell war bonds, which are like loans from citizens to the government, or by raising new taxes. The third objective of wartime propaganda is to eliminate dissent and unify the country behind the effort. Okay, to kind of, the government is telling the people, look, together we will be stronger. If we unite ourselves as a country, as a people, we can go and defeat the enemy. Also, to conserve resources such as food, oil, steel necessary to wage war. Sometimes in these posters, the government would tell people, hey, cut down, ration what you're eating, save some of your foods, save some of the oil, the steel for the men who are out there at war who might need it. And then lastly, to increase participation in organizations to support the war effort. Okay, so now we're going to look at tools. Okay, tools used in wartime propaganda. This is what you're going to use when you complete that Google form assignment. There are specific agendas behind each poster. A certain message is trying to be portrayed. They're all not the same. Here is the first one. I'm going to move myself down here. So the first tool is going to be demonization. Okay, to portray the enemy as purely evil, menacing, murderous, and aggressive. Okay, the government attempts to explain who the public should hate, often portrays the enemy as a hairy beast of the devil himself. This tool is more powerful when it can be used to blame the enemy for atrocities against women, children, or civilians. For example, with this poster. Okay, notice how they're portraying this person here, bloody arms, kind of reaching out, grabbing the globe, making the enemy seem purely evil, murderous. They have no sympathy. They're aggressive. They're going to hurt and kill all the women, children, and civilians if we don't stop them. So the second objective, the second tool is going to be emotions, playing on people's emotions. Okay, this is what the government, and we bring back this poster here. If you can play on someone's emotions, that can really help you. Okay, fear is a strong emotion. So propagandists, so the people who create these propaganda posters, create work based on the premise that the more fearful someone is, the more likely they are to act. If you know that the enemy could possibly come and attack your home and kill your family, you're going to be more willing to, ration your foods, maybe, buy these war bonds to help the soldiers. Okay, fear is a strong emotion. Next, we have name calling. Okay, so this tool involves using loaded labels to encourage hatred of the enemy. For example, phrases like the Hun. So you see this poster on the right says, halt the Hun. So the Hun, it was used to compare Germans to like savage barbarians. This tool can be used to reinforce a negative stereotype and demonize the enemy. You can see here, so halt the Hun, buy U.S. government bonds, Third Liberty Loan. Next, we have patriotism. So this tool involves using patriotic language and symbols to appeal to a viewer's sense of national pride. So you can see this poster here, buy U.S. government bonds. There's a flag in the background. Notice this gentleman at the front is probably a soldier. Notice how prideful he looks. Notice the women in the background too. There's a little boy. So, having that pride in your country will make you want to go and protect your country. Catchy slogans. So our next tool that we're looking at, remember the name, remember the Maine. Okay, this is a vessel we're going to talk about on Monday that was shot down by the Germans. with one of their U-boats. But this tool involves, so with catchy slogans, if you have a catchy slogan, something memorable, it can be used to foster the war effort. For example, the phrase "Remember the Alamo" was used to motivate Americans to support the use of arms against Mexico. Next, we have half-truths and lies. So this tool involves deception or twisting the truth. So the propagandist may use a specific element of truth to support their cause. So not the entire truth, but a little portion of it. For example, blaming the enemy for starting the war or portraying one's country as a victim. Okay, so if you portray, in this instance, the German soldiers, it's their fault that the war started, and look at what they're doing to the Americans. Okay, this is not true. The Germans did not start the war. But if people are seeing these posters all over, they're going to start to believe this. They're going to see who these propagandists want the civilians to see as the enemy. Next, our last topic is going to be humor. Okay, so this tool is going to involve capturing the viewer's attention using humor, great exaggeration to promote the war effort. The enemy is the butt of jokes used by propagandists. So you see this poster here, the soldier's about to kind of throw this grenade, and he is saying, quote, "God help me if this is a dud. His life is in your hands." Okay, so sometimes throwing humor into these propaganda posters kind of lighten the mood around, a war. Okay, so that's it, guys. Very short lecture. Happy Friday. On Monday, we will begin talking about, the end of World War I. We're going to talk about the U.S. finally joining the war, and how their involvement will kind of shift the tide. Now, once you complete watching this lecture, go on and complete the World War I poster analysis on Google Classroom. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. What's going to be really important is going to be the different topics of propaganda posters. Okay, I included them in the instructions for your assignment, so make sure you read the instructions very carefully before you go in and fill anything. But let me know if you have any questions. Really miss you guys. Hope you're doing okay. Hope you're sleeping. Hope you're resting. Hope you're staying safe. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.